Hello, hello. So today is going to be my June and July wrap up. July was kind of a hot mess, so I obviously did not film during that time. Not for a lack of trying, I don't know, I just hated every single thing that I filmed in the month of July. So we're just gonna go through it today. So let's just go ahead and start with my June wrap up. June was actually a pretty solid month of reading for me. I enjoyed everything that I read. I actually have one that is like 5 stars for me personally, and so let's get into it. So my first book, I actually don't have the dust cover for it anymore. It was like a velvety dust cover, and it was really cool. However, it had Barnes & Noble stickers on it, and I of course wanted to take the stickers off, and in trying to remove the stickers, it just completely ruined the dust cover, which really stinks. Like, I really wish they hadn't put stickers on it, but that's okay. But so this is Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered, the definitive how-to guide by Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark. They host the popular podcast, My Favorite Murder, which is one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. I'm actually part of their little fan cult. Love it. But so in this book, they share stories ranging from their struggles with depression to eating disorders and addiction. They recount their biggest mistakes and their deepest fears while reflecting on the formative life events that shaped them into who they are today. I did enjoy it. You know, it wasn't my favorite. I think that their chemistry and their comedy with each other didn't necessarily reflect and play off each other as well in the book as it does on the podcast. The things that I really do enjoy about this book is that it's very pro-therapy, it's very pro-self-care in all manners of speaking. Like, self-care not necessarily just being the I'm gonna go to the spa and get my nails done sort of the thing, you know. It's like just taking a deep breath and so those were some of my favorite takeaways from this book. Okay, the next book that I was able to complete, this one was actually for the book club that I do with the neighborhood moms, and that was The Midwife of Hope River by Patricia Harmon. So this book is a historical fiction set during the Great Depression in West Virginia. We follow the character of Patience Murphy through being a midwife in Appalachia during the Depression and the events in her life that brought her to that point. So she takes on births that no one else wants, the most in need and not likely to pay. This book discusses the conditions of the time, from disease to property and prejudices and race relations. It also delves into the horrors of the mining industry, which I actually learned a lot about that I didn't learn in school. It discusses the real life battles fought by those in unions and the mine bosses. So that was really cool and interesting to learn about, and sad that Like, there's huge aspects of our history that just aren't taught. So it was a nice, easy read. It was really cool because the author is a former midwife, so she was able to write this from her knowledge. She did extensive research of the times to try and be as accurate as possible, you know, down to getting the price of bread and sugar at the times. My main complaints about the book is that the main character is just extremely naive. I feel that the race relation portion of the book wasn't necessarily delved into a lot, and that, you know, it's very clear and obvious that the race relation portions of the book were coming from a white woman. So I don't believe that those were necessarily as accurate to the times, necessarily speaking. But it was a nice, quick, easy read, and I did enjoy it. Right, and the next book that I finished was this we read for the book club I do with my sisters. And this was The Last Black Unicorn by Tiffany Haddish. I actually did this book in audiobook format, and it was fantastic. In this book, we follow Tiffany Haddish on her journey into comedy, from being placed into foster care as a teen to struggling to read at a basic level in 9th grade. She found that by making people laugh, she was able to get people to help her. When she was given the choice to attend the Laugh Factory comedy camp or to do counseling to help cope with trauma, she chose the comedy camp, and she found her calling. So this book goes through her early life until her time filming Girls Trip. I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed the audio book format of this because Tiffany Haddish herself was the one that was reading the book. So it was really awesome just hearing her tell her story. The Titus chapter is just a whole next level petty that was just insane. And the interactions that she has with Jada Smith filming Girls Trip was just it's definitely eye-opening from people, you know, with the conversations of two people from completely different worlds at that time. I highly recommend this book in the audiobook format. I really enjoyed it that way, and listening to it in her voice was just, it was really awesome. And so my last book for June was Una Out of Order by Margarita Montemore. Gosh, I hope I pronounced that right, because this was my favorite book of the month. This was also actually part of the Mom's Book Club. The previous book, The Midwife of Hope River, was one that I wasn't able to finish for the month of May. That was supposed to be for the month of May. I was not able to get to it in May, so I read it in June. And then this was June's pick. And I was able to, I seriously read this in like a day and a half. It was a beautifully quick, easy read for me. So what it is it's New Year's Eve, 1982, and Una Lockhart has her whole life before her. At the stroke of midnight, she will turn 19, and the year ahead promises to be one of consequence. Should she go to London to study economics or remain at home in Brooklyn to pursue her passion for music and be with her boyfriend? As the countdown to the new year begins, Una faints and awakens 32 years in the future in her 51-year-old body, greeted by a friendly stranger in a beautiful house she's told is her own. Una learns that with each passing year, she will leap into another age at random. And so begins Una Out of Order. I really enjoyed this book. I gave this book 5 stars. I related immensely to the main character of Una. I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to give spoilers in this video. What I want to do is I want to make a whole separate video for this book discussing everything about it, including all sorts of spoilers, because I just want to talk about this book. I loved this book. It was so much fun. It was so great. I originally read that jacket cover. I was like, oh gosh, I don't want to read this. But it was so much fun. I really liked it. Okay, and so now to the month of July, which was just terrible. I was only able to finish one book for the month of July, which I don't necessarily think is a terrible thing. I was able to complete a book. It was not the goal I set for myself. And the problem is that I had set a fairly lofty goal for myself, and I still stand by it. I think I would have been able to complete at least most of it if I hadn't created an environment to overwhelm myself. So what I did is last month I had a solid TBR of 3 main books and like a manga if I get to it, sort of a deal, with some extra ones where it was like, if I can get to this, that's cool. The problem is that I found more booktubers, and I found more things on like book Twitter and stuff, and so then I was like, well, let me hop into this challenge, let me hop into that challenge, and then I wasn't able to complete anything because I wound up getting overwhelmed and just not wanting to do any of it. So here I am with one book that I finished, and this one was for my sister's book club, and what we did is we did In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So this book, let's see, Dani Cohen lives her life by numbers. Her every goal has long been mapped out and accounted for. To her mind, the unpredictable does not exist. She is nothing like her lifelong best friend, the wild, whimsical, believes in fate Bella. So when Dani is asked the proverbial question at the most important interview of her career, she has a meticulously crafted answer at the ready. Later, after nailing her interview and accepting her boyfriend's marriage proposal, Dani goes to sleep knowing she is right on track to achieve her 5-year plan. But when she awakens, she's suddenly in a different apartment with a different ring on her finger and beside a very different man. Dani spends 1 hour, exactly 5 years in the future, before she awakens again in her own home on the brink of midnight. But it is 1 hour she cannot shake. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. It was insanely quick. It was a very quick, easy read, but there were some things that I wanted more of, and it almost felt, it's very strange, but it almost felt that the main character was like a side character in her own story, if that makes sense. I think it was such a good idea, but there were so many little bits and pieces that were like hinted at, but I don't necessarily think were explored more. You know, so it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad book at all. I really wanted to finish it. I wanted to see how it ended. But I just didn't care. It was okay. It was just okay. So now it's August. We're in August. So now it's like, what am I going to do for August? Well, I'm just essentially going to take last month's TBR, slightly altered, and make that for this month. So I did get about 250 pages into this book, and I absolutely love it. I am really enjoying this book so far, and I just cannot wait to see how this goes. So I'm really excited to see where this, to keep reading this and to finish this up. I've already seen that a lot of the book people that were reading this for last month's Shelf Space book club want to continue with it. So with the series. So I'm really excited about that. For the Neighborhood Moms book club, because we actually weren't able to meet in July, we are still on Well, That Escalated Quickly by Francesca Ramsey. So I am really excited to get this. I wasn't able to get the book until probably the middle of July. By that time, I was so burned out by trying to do too many things at once. And then none of the moms could meet in July anyway, so that worked out perfect. And then for my sister's book club, I actually have the book on hold at the library right now that I have to go pick up. We are doing To Kill a Mockingbird. Yeah, I'm only semi-excited to be reading it. It was one of those books I should have read in high school, but because they were making me read the book in high school, I didn't want to read the book in high school, so there's that. And then obviously, I really want to get to this. So, but it's not, I definitely am not making that one, like, super priority, because as soon as I start doing that, I think I lose it. So, I think that's about it for this video. August is kind of a month. It's kind of a let's get our shit together and get caught back up so we can start afresh. And then in September, I'm excited because there's a couple of other book clubs that I may follow along with. I know the Krusty Club by Chanel Time. Love her. September is a YA fantasy, which is one that has been on my list that I would like to read, which is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. So I'm really excited about that, but I'm really excited about October, which is Mexican Gothic. So I'm following along. I'm going to follow along with that book club. So yeah, so that was my June-July wrap-up with this little August TBR. Just all thrown into one until I learn to be a more consistent poster. Alright, so thank you, and I will see you all later.